Hello, everyone. Thank you for attending the conference today and being here to learn more about MediaValet and our role in the SaaS ecosystem, MarTech, and just the overall IT stack in general. So it goes almost without saying, but I will. Content today is more important than ever before. Just have a look around us. We're all consuming more content at a higher rate than we ever have. That's ourselves, our friends, and our families. This presentation itself is a great example. Once we're done today, the recording, along with the PowerPoint deck that you're viewing now, will be loaded into our own instance of MediaValet for IR, training, and archiving purposes, as well as for parts of it to be repurposed in the future. Now, as I mentioned, content. It's important today more than ever. But what is content? So when we look at content, it's everything as individuals that we consume today. This can be TV commercials, online ads, product videos and photos, PowerPoint presentations like this one, pricing sheets, analyst reports, even simple things like logos. But it goes well beyond content to our world, meaning digital assets, to things like 2D packaging designs, 3D engineering plans, scientific research reports, and the list goes on and on and on. Now, like for our largest customer today, we're managing over 8 million high-res assets. Now, add in all the source files that are required to create these digital assets, as well as all the work in process assets from ideation all the way through to the final approved assets. And for most, this is an overwhelming number of files to contemplate, let alone find, secure, manage, distribute, and track. Now, I'm sure we can all agree that content or digital assets are a critical part of our daily work and personal lives today. But let's put a few numbers behind this belief. In North America alone, we're going to spend over $6 billion in global advertising and 300 billion in content marketing. So 600 billion in global advertising and 300 billion in content marketing alone in 2021. Suffice to say, DAM's critical today. It's a must-have component of marketing IT stacks of mid to enterprise organizations across all industries and geographic locations. At a department level, they need a way to manage their digital assets efficiently and consistently across their organization and all their distribution channels. It's important from this idea of a single source of truth for one single place for everyone within an organization's ecosystem to go to find the assets they need to do what they're doing at that moment in time throughout their day. According to the IDC, organizations that use a DAM will save 85% in the creation of assets and increase revenue by 25%. Now, we've seen a lot of growth in DAM, or more specifically for us, the cloud native DAM industry over the past few years, but this growth is only expected to accelerate in the foreseeable future. From our perspective on the front lines of DAM, we're seeing the same as the analysts. Every year, the awareness of DAM, the active interest in implementing DAM, and the requirement for DAM continues to grow. This past year alone, all three perspectives, awareness, interest, and requirement of DAM, have accelerated significantly. So our compound annual growth rate throughout this last period was 55% versus 33% within the industry. Now, having said all of this, analysts today estimate that only 15% of organizations have a digital asset management system. So, where are we as a company at today? We're doing okay. We're in that initial growth phase. We're only one of a few enterprise class cloud native SaaS DAM vendors in the world. We have over 300 customers across a wide variety of industries and countries spanning multiple continents. Our compound annual growth rate, as I mentioned, is 55%. Our retention in 2019 was a little over 100%. And in 2020, throughout COVID, we've maintained a retention rate of over 97%. We've built a world-class team, both here in Canada and abroad, and we have a strong balance sheet with over 16 million in working capital today. So why do people choose MediaValet? Well, we're an enterprise DAM without the complexity and cost usually associated with enterprise software. We're built to manage millions of assets across numerous geographies and tens of thousands of users per organization. We have unrivaled support, training, and adoption, and we can scale to meet the needs of any size company. So small or large, or even single department, multi-department, or across an entire conglomerate globally. We've proven ourselves over the years to be extremely innovative with products like Creative Spaces, our integrations into Office 365, and our latest foray into artificial intelligence and audio-video intelligence. We're 100% cloud-based, or cloud-native as they say today, and we're built exclusively on Microsoft Azure. Now, our major competitor is Adobe Assets. And you can see here, we've got Adobe Assets on the right-hand side, and then our kind of major competitors today would be Widen, WebDAV, and Binder. Binder, a few years ago, bought WebDAV. They are still somewhat in market because they do have a large customer base, so we still consider them a competitor of ours. But as you can see here, Gartner has placed us just to the right and above our major competitors and a little bit below Adobe. So Adobe Assets, day to day, is our major competitor that we compete against in deal flow. So why did Gartner put us here? Gartner put us here because of our best-in-class security, the speed of our platform on the cloud, our redundancy, how many times we're backed up. So 6 times, which is unheard of in our industry, but it's important for some of our really large global organizations, global customers, as well as our government customers. Our global accessibility and our scalability. So when we started this business 10 years ago, we started as an internal product for another business that I had started in 2000. That internal product was a digital asset management system. So managing those digital assets or content that I was mentioning before. But very quickly, after we started working with our first few customers, they started asking us if we could manage some of their video assets. And managing their final assets, those final consumable videos that we view ourselves as consumers, those are still within the marketing realm and sales realm, but they were asking us to move further into this media asset management realm, or MAM, where they're producing the assets and dealing with workflow, so work in progress assets and the source assets. So it pulled us into MAM very early on as a company. Following that, just a few years ago, our customers started asking us if we could help with their creative teams. Those customers that had large creative teams with high volume of creative process, so creating a lot of catalogs and brochures on a daily, weekly, and monthly basis. This is a creative asset management industry. We got pulled into that just a few years ago. And I briefly mentioned Creative Spaces a couple slides ago. That was our answer to this demand that was coming out of the creative asset management industry that was delving into DAM, where we initially started. And just of late, enterprise video content management, an entirely different industry. This is distributing and managing town hall content. So large organizations, monthly, quarterly, biannually, are doing town halls to educate their employees and their vendors and people, suppliers that they work with. These town halls need to be distributed, recorded, distributed, but then also archived. And we've been asked to move into that by different divisions within organizations to be able to handle that content as well. Each one of these 4 industries is a multi-billion-dollar industry. What we're finding over time is they're converging because within those organizations, they don't think about MAM, DAM, CAM, or EBCM. They just think about the fact that they have assets they need to be managed. And as we move into a company, usually through marketing, we then get asked if we can start managing these other assets. All right, so when we usually go into a business, our first objective is to find out what their business objectives are as an organization. Then we identify each department within that organization and find out how they're creating, storing, managing, distributing, and updating and securing their assets. And finally, we're establishing this foundational layer across the organization, across all departments, via the single source of truth idea, a highly secure, compliant, and redundant digital asset management platform. This foundational DAM layer then connects to all internal and external systems, entities, and people required to achieve the business objectives of the organization. Now, traditionally, we move into marketing first. That's how the initial demand for most organizations. But after that, we find ourselves moving into sales, product, support, and other departments throughout the organization. Now, looking at this a little bit differently. So this diagram illustrates how assets are used throughout an organization's entire ecosystem. From internal departments, engineering, sales, marketing, creative, customer success, to external, partners, channels, vendors, agencies, and the like, and finally to customers. Now, as I mentioned with the previous slide, we generally start in marketing, and then we more than likely move to sales, creative, and then agencies. Our ultimate objective is to eventually help all of these areas within these businesses, even customers. So sometimes of late, we've been starting this DAM discussion with creative, which is a little bit unusual because, again, remember, we used to start in marketing traditionally. But then for creative, we're moving over to agencies and then into marketing and then channel. And somewhat interesting of just the short period of late, we've been talking to engineering, and then from engineering to channel, and then channel to partners. So what we've been seeing over the last 12 months specifically is that DAM has accelerated beyond just marketing and sales and creative because of what we've been seeing in COVID, and because of this move to this work from anywhere environment. They needed to broaden DAM's reach throughout the organization. Now, when companies traditionally come to us, the reality is that their usage, they have basic file management throughout their organization. And they're somewhere in this chaos to compartmentalized area, these two stages of our maturity model. Our goal is to move them to compartmentalized as soon as possible. So that's the first thing that we do. We're getting in, finding out their business objectives, and then creating a plan to move them from chaos and compartmentalized to collaboration. And today, ultimately, we're trying to get them to this connected or four stage. That four stage, connected, that single source of truth, fully connected. It's fully governed. It's fully compliant. All the things that are critical today because of privacy and compliance requirements across industries and organizations. But finally, that fifth level, this is converged. Technically not possible today, but it's where we're going. Everything we do today in product and engineering is focused on enabling us to achieve level 5 or converged as soon as possible. At this level of maturity, DAM is fully automated, omnipresent, intelligent, and aware, almost entirely hands-off. We're now 5 years away from singularity, that point when computers become as smart as human beings. We're closer to level 5 converged than ever, and than anyone thinks today. Now, over the last, in Q4, so the last 3 months of 2020, we signed up dozens of new customers from a wide variety of industries around the world. These included one of North America's leading airport authorities. They signed a 3-year, $441,000 deal with us that included our enterprise DAM platform, our creative spaces application that supports creative teams, and integrations with Azure Active Directory, Office 365, and WorkFront. Another that we signed up was a North American unified healthcare system that includes many of the well-known hospitals in the US. We moved this customer off of one of our competitors and their workflow partner to MediaValet and our workflow partner, Wrike, who was recently purchased by Citrix. Another was a global $5 billion chemical company that produces many of the products that we use in our households today. All three of these companies have marketing material, sales material, research material, internal communications material, all these assets and content that needed to be managed because they got to that point where basic file management, whether in the cloud or on premise or locally on their own computers, was either at that chaos and compartmentalized stage, and they needed to move up to level 3 in order to get some of that scale, to be able to now start scaling their business faster, more efficiently, more productively, and adding layers of compliance and security and compliance across these assets that all their departments are using. So where are we leaning in 21? Engineering and product. So we're doubling down on team and accelerating our feature roadmap. We're increasing the adoption and differentiation and for the stickiness and affect our stickiness and win rate of our product. We're leaning into sales and marketing, expanding the team and market reach to increasing marketing programs and our overall sales pipeline. And we're leaning into customer success. We've found this throughout 2020. As COVID hit us, our customers needed a little bit more help managing their assets and working with adoption throughout their organization and enabling DAM to spread throughout their organization to help all of their users and all of their employees that had moved home. So all of that effort in customer success and engineering support helps to reduce churn, increase adoption, and expansion of MediaValet. Now, corporately, our market capitalization over the last 2 years has increased. We're now sitting at 95 million and change. Share price, we're sitting at about 250 today. Enterprise value, you can see here. I've got a few different metrics. And shares outstanding, we're at 38 million today. At the bottom, you can see insider ownership is sitting at 31%, and estimated institutional investor holdings is around 41%. Thank you.
Thanks. That was great. I just want to remind the audience, if you do have any Q&A, again, there's a box at the bottom of your screen, so you can just type it in there. And I was just going to kick it off. So David, you mentioned MediaValet being built right into the cloud and on Microsoft Azure. Can you maybe just explain to the audience, what are the advantages of that?
So as Matthew noted, SaaS and cloud is critical to where software is going today and is changing a lot of industries. As a SaaS and cloud vendor, we have several different clouds to choose from, cloud platforms. So we chose Microsoft Azure because over 90% of global organizations are Microsoft shops. Microsoft's important to them. They've decided to use Microsoft technology within to support their operations. So that was important for us to have a cloud platform that was not only focused at the business environment, but was the most popular product or platform across those organizations. So we chose Azure for one, because of that, because of their market share, but also because of Microsoft's focus. So back in 2010, they were launching a platform as a service cloud platform. Platform as a service means there's no virtual machines. It's a step above infrastructure as a service, or VMs, or virtual machines, which allowed us to focus just on the application. We didn't have to manage virtual machines or the platform, only the application itself, which allows us to scale faster. And to give you an idea, traditionally, most of us that know software know that companies, or even those of us that use software, they would used to send us DVDs once a year or maybe biannually to update our software. With SaaS and cloud, it started to be monthly or quarterly. For us, because we're a platform as a service on Azure, we're updating 2, 3, 4, sometimes 5 times a week. And that's globally across all data centers, across all customers.
Wow. And then, okay, so another quick question for me. So you mentioned that only 15% of businesses are using DAMs currently. So you would just think, given the past year and everyone, working remotely and having to manage and access, digital assets and stuff from home, that would be, I guess, a huge leverage to allow more companies or show companies that the need that they need to have a DAM in place. So how do you see, growth of companies almost evolving over time if last year didn't push more companies to adopt? Or just how do you see that evolving going forward, or what needs to happen?
So what we saw in 2020 was the acceleration of digital transformation. It's a trend that's been happening for the last 5+ years across organizations and industries, where companies are having to digitize their operations. As soon as COVID hit, and that mass movement almost overnight to people working from home, things like SaaS and cloud were, the importance of them accelerated. So we saw that in DAM. Overnight, the interest in DAM and the requirement for DAM exploded. What also happened, though, at the same time, was that instead of just being a single department purchase, it then became a multi-department or throughout an entire company purchase. When that happened, the number of people at the table deciding on which platform and the technologies that they were going to be adding to their IT stacks to manage this movement to working from anywhere increased significantly. So instead of 1 or 2 decision makers, you would have 5, 6, sometimes 18 or 20 decision makers. So we had that. And then in the backstop behind that, companies were being cautious because of budgets being put on hold or being reduced for that period of time. So we're now starting to see that loosening a little bit coming into 2021. But throughout all of 20, we saw our leads and opportunities and sales pipeline increase. We didn't see deals moving out of our pipeline. We just saw the sales cycle lengthening. Right. So coming into 2021 and now looking for the remainder of the year and into 22, our business is much better positioned than it ever has been because of that interest in DAM and that requirement of DAM as part of that digital transformation. And remember that foundational layer that I talked about, maintaining and managing the assets for all departments across an organization.
Yeah, it's definitely becoming an area that wouldn't just be applicable to a marketing department anymore. I'm going to ask you just a quick audience question. I'm just going to read it. So where are you looking to add new employees that you'll be able to help accelerate your growth kind of over the coming years?
So as I was mentioning, where we're leaning in, so product and engineering. One thing, in our business, we're getting through our marketing efforts, we're getting lots of leads coming in on a monthly basis. From those leads, we're converting a certain amount. In order to convert more, we need to increase the number of use cases within digital asset management that we address. So adding more people into product and into engineering increases the features and maturity of our platform to allow us to address more use cases, which increases our win rate. So we're leaning into that. So hiring more people there, hiring more people in marketing to increase those leads and opportunities that are coming into our sales pipeline. And then primarily been focused on North America for the past few years. We're now expanding that further, even though from day one, back in the very beginning of MediaValet, when we launched V1, our first customer was in the US, our second customer was in the UK, And our third customer, I think, was in Australia. So we expanded very, very quickly internationally. And Microsoft Azure, that cloud platform, because it's global, allowed us to do that from day one. But what we're doing in 21 is leaning further into that by now focusing some of our marketing in Europe, in the Middle East, in Asia Pacific. The third thing that we're leaning into from a hiring staff standpoint is customer support and customer success. This area and helping people understand DAM, not beyond marketing, beyond sales, beyond engineering, beyond training, or those initial departments we get into to help us increase adoption within our customers and expand across their ecosystem to help them leverage DAM to meet the needs of their suppliers, of their customers, and of their various departments.
And then just before you go, what's the typical length of your sales cycle and how long does it typically take to convert leads?
So our sales cycle pre-COVID coming into 2020 would have been about 3 months. Throughout 2020, that moved a little bit, but it definitely increased. So we went from about a 80, 90-day sales cycle, and then that increased to 90 to 120. And again, because we went from one or two departments making a decision to an entire organization making a decision. Now, that's an average because within COVID, some moved very quickly. Some we had a 3 or 4 day sales cycle. It went really, really quickly because with COVID, they had to move super fast. And some of those organizations did that. But then some organizations reached out to us for the first time, looking into DAM. And because it was the first time and it was sooner than they expected to look at DAM, their cycle went quite long. So our average sales cycle moved into that 90 to 120 day span, depending when you looked at it throughout the year.
Okay. Okay, well, thank you so much. We appreciate your time.
Thank you, Victoria.